Chit-chatting.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Beauty and Bubbles. We are really excited for our guest, Judith Boyd with Style Crone, to join us tonight. As always, we have our lash queen, Ashley. And now, I'm not good at this. We practice something, I'm not so great. As always, we have Ida over here with traffic and cocktails. I don't think those things go well together, but.
No, don't drink and drive.
Crash Hey everyone, thanks for joining us back. Tonight we're holding on to summer and inspired by our beautiful Judith. We have a lavender lemonade for everyone to share. So the recipe will be on Instagram later on. Go ahead and pass that down and give that a try.
Oh, it looks delightful.
Yes, I love the color.
It is fabulous. Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah,
Cheers.
Thank you, Ida, for the traffic and cocktail. I wasn't going to take a sip. I was going to talk, but then I was like, oh, that's rude to cheers and not to take a sip.
That's delightful.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight and chatting. We want to talk a little bit about timeless beauty trends, style, your blog.
Sounds great, and thank you so much for having me. And I wanted to show you my nails, first of all.
Yes.
Glamour Bar.
They look so good.
Don't they?
So tell us a little bit about you, your blog, how you got started.
Okay, I will. I started blogging in July of 2010. And I had no idea what I was doing. And at the time, my husband had been diagnosed with a very rare cancer in 2005, and so when I started, he'd been sick for 5.5 years, and as I started my blog, Nelson, who was my husband at the time, was my first photographer, and I blogged through the last 9 months of his life, through his death, which was in April of 2011, through grief, and then through my transformation. And I blogged about what was happening in my life during all of these phases of what was happening with Nelson, and it really helped to distract us and put our attention on something other than devastation. And one of the regular series on my blog at the time when he was sick was what to wear to chemo. And I would dress up, and then in the exam room before he went to what we call the chemo cafe, he would take my photos in the exam room, and then we would go into the area that he received his chemo, and then I would blog. And so it really helped to lighten things up a little bit, and we could explore another way to communicate through the lens. So that's how I started.
That's incredible.
I can tell you, there were no style bloggers that were blogging about death and grief. And for me, it was very much a healing process. And also a way that I developed a whole new appreciation of a support system that I didn't know existed in the blogging world. So
that's amazing.
That's so incredible. I know.
That's amazing that you were able to turn like your mourning and your grief into something that people all across everywhere could see and could feel.
It happens to everybody
and relate to.
It's kind of a taboo that we don't talk about death. Like we talk about birth, and actually there are similarities. It's unpredictable, it's messy, and there are many similarities, is what I discovered. And so that's how it began.
Wow.
And so it's been continual since 2010.
Since July of 2010, and I really cannot stop because because I feel like Nelson put me on this path. And so it was something that we created together, and so far as I can tell, will continue to blog until I wear my last hat.
Well, speaking of hats, to just like change a little bit, hats are definitely a little bit of your signature look.
They are my signature
yes.
look. I usually start with a hat. I had a hat shop in the 80s. Actually, my career was, I was a master's level psych nurse, and so wearing a hat and putting together an outfit when I was working was like a meditation. I almost said medication.
It could be both.
But there are similarities between medication and meditation.
Absolutely.
Because I would, when I got to work, hear very, very difficult stories, traumatizing stories, people that were in traumatic and situations, and so to put together an outfit not only brightened my day, but also the patients loved it. So.
That was actually one of my questions.
I know, I kind of stole that a little bit.
So, do you think everyone should have a signature look, or is it just something that you find along the way? Is that an everyday kind of thing for you?
It's an everyday kind of thing for me. I hardly leave the house without a hat. I have a hat room, hundreds of hats in that hat room.
What?
I know.
Can we come over?
Can we come over and look at the hat room?
I have never counted the hats, but right now the spring and summer hats are out and on display. And then there's this gigantic surge of changing out the hats to the fall winter. So it takes some time to do that.
Yeah.
But I also have a scarf room and a shoe room, and and I have a vintage collection as well. So I have a lot of collections. My entire house is a closet except the first floor, where I try to keep that somewhat under control.
Well, we'll come over for the next Beauty and Bubbles and tour.
It is entertaining, I have to say.
Where do you have a certain place here in Denver that you love to find hats, or how do you kind of create your signature? How did hats become your thing?
Well, I started wearing vintage hats in the 70s, and when I started to wear vintage, and I'm kind of, the two came on me at the same time. And then, along with another psych nurse, we opened a hat shop in the 80s. And so my love for headwear escalated, and the hat shop was in existence for 4 years. And I also, after the hat shop, 2 days after the hat shop closed, I was working at Denver General on the psych alcohol drug emergency room. Wow. So it was really hard for me to quit wearing hats, and sometimes I would wear a hat. And I have to say that during my first evaluation, it was mentioned that perhaps that wasn't what they wanted me to be doing, so I had to immediately find another job.
I think that you left your job, obviously.
It's the only logical thing to do.
And you said something about, do I think everybody should have a signature look? I think everybody should do what they want. I really appreciate everybody's style, whether it's understated or all the way to very flamboyant. I think we should wear what we love, we should wear what we like to put together, what makes us happy. I don't think there should be shoulds. And all those lists about what to wear, what not to wear after you're 30, don't pay any attention to them, because one of the things they say that you're not supposed to wear is leopard print. I must have 35 leopard print hats or animal print hats, and don't listen to any of those rules. I'm telling you now, because who should be telling us what to wear? It should be our internal self-expression. So,
I love that.
I know, whatever makes you feel beautiful.
Yeah.
You can't judge fashion on others.
No,
That's not fair.
I don't believe so.
It's definitely an expression and outlet,
Absolutely.
Right.
Creativity that you get to.
Right.
And if someone feels good leaving the house in that, then
That's my only, if I look in the mirror and to me it looks good, then out the door I go. And I feel like it's the inside out that is the expression.
Do you find other rules, like white after Labor Day, since we're coming up to Labor Day. Those kind of like
Well, when I was growing
little
up,
fashion
and
rules.
I am very proud to say that I'm 75. I have age pride, and I think no matter what your age, we should have age pride. So I grew up, I was in high school in the 50s, and there were a lot of rules then, I can tell you. But now I don't adhere to any of them. And wearing white after Labor Day was definitely a rule. But I love wearing white in the fall and the winter and in the summer.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I really don't go by colors either. If I love the color, I'll wear it. And I know that there are probably some colors that are more flattering to me, but I really don't pay much attention to it. I just wear whatever I love.
I love that. Kind of going back to purchasing hats, do you have a little favorite spot or a place that you get most of your hats from, or that you love?
There have been milliners in Denver, but right now the closest milliner that I know of, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I do have hat radar. So there is a milliner in Frisco who's very, very good. Her name is Diane Hardy. But I have hats from every era. I go to estate sales not as frequently as I used to, but everywhere I go, I look for hats. So when I travel, there's always hats somewhere.
Yeah.
You can find hats in thrift stores and consignment shops, and there are shops in Denver that have hats too, but I really can't say that I have a place that I go. I get hats wherever I go. And I have to really love the hat. At this time, on my blog, I have a monthly, I've named it Hat Attack. And at the beginning of the month, the first of the month, I choose a hat, and I've been receiving hats from milliners all over the world, from London, from Bulgaria, from Russia, from New York, from California, other places as well. And so if I receive a hat from a milliner, I always show it on my Hat Attack. And it's a link-up party, so anybody can show themselves in a hat and participate.
Oh, I love that.
So,
So cute.
check it out.
So
You
fun.
too can share your hat on Hat Attack.
How do you feel about the Kentucky Derby Day hats? Is
Well,
that your favorite day
actually,
of the year?
I don't participate myself,
Okay.
but I do have hats that could be worn for the Kentucky Derby. But it's a really good holiday for milliners, and so I support it wholeheartedly, because anything that's good for millinery, I support.
I love it. Ida, you had a really great question earlier about
Yeah, so one of my questions was just about, like, I have people in my family from kind of like every decade, right? And so I had a question about, like, do you feel like there's a timeless print? Because I know prints come and go, but is there something, is there like a print that you like have worn every decade, no matter what? Okay.
Leopard print.
yes.
I should have known.
Actually, I was in a book that just came out. Fierce is the name of the book, and it's by Jo Weldon. Actually, there's going to be a book signing at Tattered Cover this coming Monday. And she's going to be, she lives in New York, but she's from this area. And so there's a photo of me in the book, and that was very exciting to me. But I think every decade, leopard print has been in style. So when they say, oh, it's really trendy this year, don't listen to it, because I have worn leopard print ever since the 70s, every era, and I have leopard hats, shoes, dresses, skirts, tops. I have a couch that is leopard print that I just found at an estate sale not too long ago. So.
That's a good find.
You're super excited about that.
I think leopard print, I'm always like, it's a classic.
It is a classic.
Everybody laughs at me whenever I say it, but I'm like, I have shoes, like I have
Yes.
things that are so old from all of the years that I could still wear today and
Right.
get compliments on.
Right.
More appropriate
And
family.
it's also sustainable and
Yes.
good for the planet. So that's another thing that's important to me.
I also think it's a neutral.
It
Goes
is
with
totally
everything.
neutral.
You
Lindsay,
could put a
you're
pop
so
of
right
color
about that.
or anything. It's a
Yes.
neutral.
Florals and leopard. You could be wearing leopard shoes, any of you, right now.
It's true. You can. It goes with anything.
It does.
It's like just adds a little funkiness, I think, to it, a little
Right.
flair. Well, 75, and you look incredible, amazing.
Thank
you
you.
have to share
Yeah, like, what are you
beauty
doing?
secrets. What are you doing?
Yoga,
Okay.
plant-based diet, meditation, having healthy relationships, taking good care of myself. I think that that's part of expressing myself from the inside out. Mindfulness and kindness.
I love it.
We have to change everything about our lives. I have the plant-based diet down.
You don't have a cream or something you're using? They're just a cream.
Yeah,
I love that because I think when you're happy and healthy, that
right.
it shows. It's
Right.
really inside out. That
And dancing. Although I don't do that nearly as often as I used to.
Not our strong point.
are there any like specific beauty products, beauty trends that you have always like gravitated to and loved with?
I have a mixture.
Yeah.
And I always wear sunblock.
That's a huge one.
Yes.
Everyone-
And
everyone.
hats are great
Oh, there you
for
go.
protecting your skin.
Mm-hmm.
But as a matter of fact, I don't usually wear hats with brims, although I do have a few. And then, of course, when I'm out in the sun, I do, or if I go to City Park Jazz or something like that. But I tend to like hats that are brimless or have small brims. This hat is a vintage hat. It's straw. It's probably from the 40s, and I found it in a vintage store in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So whenever I travel, I always check out, number one, the milliners, and contact them and try to meet up with a milliner, the bloggers that are in the city that I go to, and the vintage stores, the consignment shops, and sometimes there's a great thrift shop. So that's my plan.
Travel
Plan of
itinerary.
action.
So no ball caps.
I don't wear cowboy hats or ball caps.
Got it.
Okay.
But I don't judge other people when they do.
A good baseball cap every once in a while. I really like a trucker hat. That's very 90s of me, but I feel like it's back.
So fun touch.
Okay, it's hot.
That's hot. Sorry.
What do you think is kind of like how people can kind of create their signature style?
I think to go with something that you love. Some people love shoes. I know bloggers that really focus on the shoes. What do you love?
I know.
What do
I
you
was
love?
just thinking that.
I probably shoes.
Yeah, and then
Probably.
you can build your outfit from there, or
And
you know,
sometimes I change it up. Like
Yeah.
I'm really feeling hats are going to be my thing.
yay!
This year, I don't know. Maybe you were my inspo for that.
I can tell you right now, you'll get a better seat at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Oh,
People will come up to you, and it weeds people out because if they don't like my hat, why would I want to speak with them anyway?
So true.
You will find that people will come up to you when you wear a hat, and it will start a conversation, and you meet people that way. So
I love
I
that.
strongly recommend it.
Yeah.
I had a
don't
good
have a
like a
thing.
good short phrase, and it was like fashion makes friends.
Yeah.
So
It's
like
true.
people
Yeah.
like it's an easy way to make friends with somebody is to
Right.
like, hey, I really love your. As long as it's sincere, right?
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
I know.
excited to see what you're
I
going
know.
to be
I'm like
wearing.
I'm thinking that this is like my new trend for like sometimes I do coats or I've done capes.
Oh,
I feel
do
like
love
sometimes I
coats.
go
Last year was
through.
the year of the cape. for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a coat collection, but then I have a collection of everything.
I know. So I feel like I kind of like
I'm Rent the Runway gowns right now.
Ashley's wearing ball gowns every day.
Last week I wore like not a ball gown, but like a heavy maxi dress from Rent the Runway.
I love gowns.
And it's just Thursday.
You know, the other thing you can do too is you can wear gowns and put a sweater over it because of the skirt.
There you
And,
go.
Actually, when I go
I'm wearing
to
nothing, just the gown. I don't need to jazz it down.
yeah, I do. Actually, I did have a series on my blog, the gown series, because I have a lot of vintage gowns, and I thought, this will be a good way to wear them. And I'm not adverse to wearing a gown out to dinner, because you can just make an occasion. You don't really have to have a dress code that complies with whatever's happening in your environment. In fact, I strongly recommend that you just take it in a different direction, because it really doesn't matter what's the worst that can happen.
Absolutely.
It's like the same with a hat. If you can put on a beret to start, or a fedora that's kind of more low-key, and then you can get more experimental after you get accustomed to it and it becomes more of a habit. But it only takes practice, because I hear people say, oh, I love hats, but I could never wear them. And there's a hat for everybody. It just takes practice, and just put it on your head and walk is all I have to say about that.
I love it.
Is there like a different rule, like men aren't supposed to wear hats at dinner? Is that not?
Yeah, that's
the same
kind of
for
true,
women?
but no.
Okay, women, we can wear hats whenever we want.
But
It's hiding our hair. We can't take it off.
Well, right. Also, another serious question: if you were at an event where they play the national anthem, do you take your hat off as a woman?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
But I don't know. Maybe there's a rule that you're supposed to. But
I don't.
would
For
never.
men, you are right.
But I feel like usually they're wearing like a baseball cap at a game.
I just was
or
wondering.
something,
I don't know hat etiquette.
Yeah.
You know what you can do if you have a question is Google it.
Yeah.
Because I have my own rules. And
You
so
have your own rules.
I do.
I'll have to ask Google.
You got to get to Google.
If you want to be really, really perfect about etiquette, then you can, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I've even written articles about it, people have asked me to write articles, and I have, Googled, and I had a hat shop, so I gave advice and so on, but at this point in my life, I'm 75. I don't really follow
She
very
gets
many
to do
rules.
whatever she wants.
I have a question.
No rules
You
apply.
take the best photos. Do you have any tips for us, like taking photos?
Well, I have friends that are my photographers. I have a friend that actually the very first hat shop that we had in the 80s, it was 1982, and we rented a small space from this friend who has now been my photographer for over 3 years. His name is Daniel. You'll see on my blog posts. I also have Ren, who you've met, I believe, who takes some of my photos now, because I need so many photos because of Instagram. And then Jenna, who is my IT person, also does some photos. So Daniel has.
Just kidding.
And I don't think I've ever done a selfie. I know it's kind of strange, but blogging is a very solitary, what would you say, activity. And so I really love to have the relationship with the photographer, because we have fun, we play off each other, we have ideas that then I can change it up a little bit. So I really adore my photographers. And as I said, Daniel and I have been friends since 1982, and he does my blog photographs. So.
It's always good whenever you're comfortable with your photographer.
Oh, absolutely.
You feel
Right.
so much more like yourself.
Right.
And I think that really comes through on all of your photos,
Oh,
that
thank you.
you're just having fun and
Yeah,
being
yeah.
yourself.
In fact, Ren and I were, the blog, or the Instagram post that was up yesterday, Ren and I went to the art museum area, and we were laughing so hard. This person that walked by, he said, "Oh, you're having way too much fun."
What do you think is your best beauty advice for anyone?
Take good care of yourself,
Love it. Good
because it'll shine through.
question.
Questions?
Yeah.
Okay, first, how did you come up with the name, or how did the style crown come about?
Oh, that's a great question. Before I started my blog, I researched words, names, so on, names or words that would describe an older woman, and there wasn't anything positive. And I have to say that the word so sorry. The word crone, if you look it up in the dictionary right now, the definition is ugly old woman. But there were cultures in the past where the word crone was very positive, and it was a phase in life where women were elevated and admired and a major part of the community. And so I decided to use that word and then turn it on its head, and hopefully that it will show that a big thing for me is changing the perception of older people in our culture. And there's a blog, Advanced Style, I don't know if you know about it, but Ari Seth Cohen has a blog by the name of Advanced Style. He has 2 books, which I'm in both of them. I'm very honored to be in both of them. And then also a documentary where he showed the lives of 7 older women in New York. And so he really started a movement to change the perception of older people in our culture. I found him before I started my blog, and he was part of the motivation and the inspiration for me to start my blog, along with my husband, who was very supportive. And he loved the word crone. There were some of my friends that were very hesitant about it and thought that it wouldn't be good and that it would not be positive for me, but I took it and ran with it, and I'm really happy that I did.
I love it.
Do you call your groupies cronies?
Oh, but you should. You're style cronies.
Yeah.
There is a community of older women and some men that it's like a subculture who are blogging, and it's growing. Women over 40, over 50, over 60, very few over 70, very few over 80.
Yeah.
So I think as far as blogging, I could be wrong about this, but I think I'm the 2nd oldest. And I think that I think that there's going to be more, even in their 70s, that are going to come forward. I think there's a couple new Instagrammers that are in their 70s, and there are always more coming.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
It is exciting.
My question. How do you travel with hats?
That's these are great questions.
Brilliant.
Actually, I have a tote. Well, I have packable hats, so I can pack them in my luggage, but I have a tote, and this is my system. Instead of carrying on a bag, I empty the things that I need. I put my bag in my luggage flat, and then I keep what I need in a side pocket of the tote, such as my credit card and some cash and my ID and so on. But then everything that's in my tote that I carry on is hats that are not packable. So then I have a carry-on luggage, and I have my carry-on tote that is my hat. And I have been known, if I'm, for example, sometimes when I go to New York and if I'm staying for a number of days, I have been known to send hats ahead of me, and they're waiting for me when I get there.
It's a good tip.
So,
And then just jumping back a little bit, if you could live in any time period, which would you pick?
I would pick right now because I have all the time periods before me to wear. So I really do love the 30s and 40s, however, the clothing and the hats and so on. But I'm happy to be alive today.
And then, did you get any beauty tips that you used today from your mom?
I think that she actually passed away in April, and I think that she was the happiest the older that she became, and she was 97 when she died. And she lived in assisted living, and she always dressed up to play bridge. She was playing bridge every day until about, let's see, a couple months before, maybe 4 months before she died. And she did talk a lot about having a positive attitude, and that was helpful for her to throughout her life. So I guess maybe you could say that when I say take good care of yourself, it's similar. So.
And last but not least, how do you feel about distressed jeans as formal wear?
I think if you love it, wear it.
Justin just literally put that question in, so we could be like, Judith said it's fine.
You didn't ask if you had to kill your best friend, how would you do it?
You could wear a tuxedo with it. I mean, a tuxedo jacket.
Don't even get any ideas for tomorrow.
Oh, there's something happening. Was that a canned question?
It is. He likes to wear his distressed
He likes to
denim.
push the envelope.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, no, I don't care if you feel good wearing it. Don't.
He's wearing distressed sweatpants.
I know.
What are those?
Everything's distressed in Justin's life.
We all have our eras.
What is your favorite fashion era? Any time period?
As I said earlier, I really love the style from the 30s and 40s. So, but now I see designers taking from every era, and they just change it up a little bit. So I have a motto that if I wear something once every 20 years, it's a keeper. So
I'm a hoarder when it comes to clothes, and I've worn things that I haven't worn in 5 years.
Absolutely.
And
I
But then
see
those
change.
trends
change
come
it.
back.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's why I hate to
And
get
I don't
I'm a
really
pack rat when
pay.
it comes to clothes.
I don't really pay that much attention to trends because I like to wear what I like to wear. But it's fun to watch too. It's like if somebody is into the trends, then great.
Is there a designer that you tend to gravitate towards, like just either in terms of style or fit or anything like that?
I have my favorite milliners, and
Fair.
that's the two most famous milliners that are out of London, Philip Tracy and Stephen Jones. I follow hundreds of milliners on Instagram and have met so many new milliners just because of Instagram. I think Instagram is a window into the world.
Yeah.
Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
So many
it's just-
connections are made on Instagram
Yes.
too that I think
Yeah.
is just so incredible.
Right.
Versus Facebook or versus
Right.
anything else. I think Instagram really feels personal
Right.
a little bit more, even though Facebook's for our friends.
Do either one of those milliners Malin the queen? I don't know.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Malin.
Create millinery for the Queen
Do
and for
both
the
of
royal
those?
family. I believe they both do. And actually there was a milliner who lived in Boulder for a time who moved back to London, which made me so sad because she also worked with Philip Tracy, and she was the most wonderful milliner, and she would make custom hats for me for my daughter's wedding. She made a hat, and then when I went to Ari Seth Cohen's book signing in New York, she made me a turban, which sits out in all its splendor, so I can walk by it every day. So
I remember that when I hear millinery, that building on 6th Ave and York. It's an old building and it says millinery and it's closed now. But it was like a fabric store.
It was a millinery supply store as well. And so, they did move. So
Oh, did they move? Oh, that's
didn't
great.
leave. And sometimes when I have a hat that needs to be reblocked or
okay.
it needs some upgrades, the owner of that
Okay.
business does that for me.
Okay.
So
That's what comes to
and
mind
it's
when I
just
hear that
awful-
word. I've
yeah,
driven by it for
yeah.
years.
Yeah, and so they're now on South Broadway. It's
Oh, cool.
Allen's, A-L-L-Y-N-S,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Cool.
in case you want to track
Yeah,
it down.
good. That's good to know.
Yeah, I got some wedding stuff for my wedding dress then.
Yeah, they had
They
a
had beautiful
huge
fabrics.
wedding dress.
Yeah.
They have crazy, they have the coolest stuff. If you're
Yeah.
into making your own clothes or anything, it's worth actually just a trip just to see the kinds of things that they have.
It's fabric?
It's a
Lots of fabric,
it's a fabric store,
and they
but
have lace
they have other
and
stuff.
ribbons
Oh, yeah,
and
lots of
all
lace.
kinds of
Costume stuff,
Right.
and, like feathers.
I can't be trusted there. I'll
not
buy
allowed.
things and I don't know how to sew or do anything, but I
No.
just buy it because
She'll
I'm
be
like,
I'm gonna DIY this. And she'll
just need
throw
it.
on top of something, and there I did it. I did it.
Do you store your clothes or any fabrics in a particular way to keep them like going strong through the decades?
Yes, I put sheets over them instead of plastic is not good for
Yeah.
clothing, and so I found this idea actually on Instagram, and there's a vintage store in Toronto that has huge collections, and they sell, but they also rent for movies and so on, and they had the idea of putting sheets over the racks, and that's what I do.
So just
And
cotton? Okay.
Cotton sheets. So I bought some cotton sheets at estate sales, of course, wash them and use them in that way. And I also check frequently for moths and so on, because that would destroy my collection. So I'm really careful about that. I'm always checking to make sure that nothing is going to be damaged.
Is humidity, so like here, humidity wise, would that be a benefit for it to be drier here?
Yes, because I think there are some areas of the country where the humidity is not good for clothing. But
Interesting.
it's another thing we could Google.
Yeah.
I don't have the answers, so lots of questions.
we have to Google.
Yeah.
I don't know what we did before,
I know.
but it's like we have that information right at the tip of our fingers.
And we believe it. Whatever
Yeah.
we Google, we're
Well,
like, oh, that's right.
which we should be more careful.
I'm like, nope.
We
Google
should probably
said it.
be, it's on Google.
It's like I live by it. I Google everything,
Well,
and I'm like, oh.
There's usually several answers.
It's true.
So,
But if it's like that big bold print, I'm like, it's gotta be right.
Of course, Google said that. So tell us a little bit, just to kind of wrap up, about your blog now and any fun things that you have coming up. You have your book signing.
right,
and-
the book signing on Monday, in case anyone is interested. Tattered cover on Colfax. I don't know what time, probably 7 or something like, but I'm sure you can check. I think, I don't know how I have come up with a topic every week since when was it I started? 2010. But somehow something always comes up. So weekly, I was blogging more frequently when I started and saying less and fewer photos, but that's changed. And so now I kind of have like 4 or 5 photos, and then I have a topic, and I'm always surprised that something comes to mind. And I think this week I'm going to be blogging about the sprained ankle that I just recovered from, because it was so humbling, because our life can change on a dime. And so it was a reminder of that. And so, not to give it away, but that's going to be, I think that's going to be the topic.
How'd you sprain your ankle?
It was that was a good question too. It was a work injury, actually. It was a photo shoot at Cheeseman Park, and we were walking down what I thought were steps, and it was actually a scroll, you know, kind of like it was slanted, and I just slipped on it, and I had flats on. So for me, it's better to wear heels. I probably would never.
Seriously.
You wouldn't have attempted it.
You would have been more cautious in
Yes.
heels. That's how I always feel. I'm like, I should have just been wearing heels. Nothing would have
You're more
happened.
familiar with.
I love it.
What is the name of your book?
My blog.
Oh, your book that you're signing?
Oh, Fierce.
Oh, Fierce.
And I think Fierce, A History of Leopard. And she talks about
Makes sense.
she talks about different eras, but she also talks about sustainability, and she talks about how to save the big cats. So it's not just the history of leopard and wonderful photos. The photos are so beautiful.
I'm sure.
And so I'm really honored to be a part of it.
Oh, cool.
It's amazing. So
Yeah.
this coming Monday, check
Monday
it out on.
at Tatter Cover.
Yeah.
Joe Weldon, the author.
And everything is just Style Crone, right?
Style
so
Crone,
if you want to
everything.
follow
Yeah.
and
Style Crone, my blog is stylecrone.com. My Instagram is Style Crone. I'm on Twitter as Style Crone, and I just started, I'm actually going to say this, a YouTube channel. And I'm
Ooh.
practicing video. I feel like I always need a challenge. And so this is my new challenge. So today is really fun because I'm practicing with my new medium that I'm just acquainting myself with. So
I love it. We'll get a tour of the room.
there's a possibility.
Can we come over?
Can we have a private tour? We'll
need,
help you through it.
I need some time to get organized.
I feel like
And-
you're already organized. I
I'm
have
sure-
a vision in my head what your house looks like right now,
Oh,
and it's fantastic.
I actually want to be Judith.
Yeah.
When I grow up, I'm gonna have different rooms. Room, hat room. I love
believe
it.
in having fun. So.
Yeah.
What's your best, just to kind of end it on, best piece of life advice?
I think I've kind of shared it along the way, and I've been asked that question in interviews many times too, but I always go back to taking care of yourself. That if you're feeling good and you're healthy, everything else is so much easier. And so I think that's behind everything I do. And I don't have control of everything, certainly. I don't have control of my health, but I do everything that I can to maintain my health. And so that's where my focus and priority is on taking care of myself. And then after that, everything else is frosting.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank
it was so
you.
fun to
Thank
get
you,
the
all
insights
of
and
you.
history. And
Coming. Yeah,
Yes.
that's great.
so, cheers to our health.
Cheers!
Cheers.
Cheers.
Take good care of yourself.
Yes.
But
So,
a drink now and then is part of that, don't you think?
absolutely, it's
Now
part
and
of
then.
it's part of good mental health.
We only do it now and then, every day.
Well, cheers. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you again for coming in and sharing
Thank
all of your
you.
wisdom and knowledge with us.
Thank
and
you.
we look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday.
Okay, I'll be here.
Yes. Please
Maybe
do.
I'll wear leopard.
Yes. Please come and wear leopard. Cheers.
All right.
Cheers.
Well,
See you next
Cheers again.
Tuesday.
Cheers. Cheers.
I
Tail and
couldn't tell.
dry.
I
So
was
it's
like,
done?
I saw your
Oh.